Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is once again me, Zach, here today with episode 2 of our Barony class guides series. As we did in the previous episode, I'll catch you guys up in case this is the first one that you're seeing. We are going to briefly discuss the class. We're going to look at what they start with in the game, and then we are going to go through the first dungeon floor, only the first floor, and kind of talk about it, see how we play it out, all that good stuff. The only special game settings that we have active right now, well, we have friendly fire disabled, but that will not be relevant, is disabling hunger. Alright? And that is purely so that we can take our time and really talk about everything without rushing. Now, generally, I would recommend for any new players who are watching this that you turn hunger on, because hunger makes the game a lot easier once you have a basic understanding of how to keep food in your belly. But let's get right into it. We are, of course, being a human. Humans have no special bonuses whatsoever, so nothing that we're looking at is going to be relevant to being human at all. It is all going to be warrior goodness. Warrior is a complexity 1 class. Now, last episode we did barbarian, which is complexity 2, and only survival 3. These stars are not a great indicator necessarily of the class overall. There's a few classes that are a little bit, like, odd in terms of the complexity and stuff that they list them as, but for this class in particular, it's very accurate. Warrior is a very, very basic melee class. They have extremely high scaling on strength, very good scaling on con. Weirdly, they scale charisma. It's not that weird once we get into game, but I'll show you that in a little bit. And they are quite bad at everything else, although I don't think their dex is the worst thing you've ever seen, so they can do some range stuff a little bit. They start with 30 HP. Again, comparing it to the Barbarian, they are a little bit squishier. However, you can see they start with a lot more armor. So let's get right into this and look at them in-game in more detail. Come on, Baron, say your words. There we go. So, as I said last time, this degeneration effect is not because I look at inappropriate videos on the internet. The degeneration buff is because we turned hunger off. So you can ignore this. This will not appear if you're playing with hunger on. Let's get started with the equipment that you start with. Now, most of the equipment the warrior begins with is worn, which is interesting because a lot of other classes have a bunch of stuff in their inventory. You have 1 medium and 1 large amount of hunger foods available to you at the start, meaning if you are playing with hunger on, you're going to be in a good spot. If you're playing with hunger off, these are mediocre heals. Does it list how much they heal for? No. Okay. You start with a serviceable bronze shield. That is not too bad. It will last a decent length of time for you, especially because of your block skill that we'll get to in a little bit. And you start with a serviceable iron spear. Same basic idea. Pretty good overall damage and will last a decent length of time. You have normal boots. You have a normal iron breastpiece and a normal helmet. Now, one thing we need to talk about here, as we discuss the attributes, you notice you start with 1 in dex. However, if we mouse over warrior here, we can once again see you do not scale dex very well. Dex controls your move speed, right? So right now we're moving at a pretty decent clip. However, because our strength starts off quite low, and our dex starts off, you know, about as good as it's going to get for a while, let's say that much. It does mean that if you pile up a bunch of stuff on your body early on in the dungeon, you will start to notice a very rapid decline in your move speed. This is important to mention. Much like in last episode where we were talking about the Barbarian, speed is very important. Now, it's more important for the Barbarian than it is for the Warrior, and I'm just kind of showing how even just picking up those torches affects our speed a little bit. It's less important for us because we start with 5 AC. That is pretty good. Considering none of our equipment is blessed, we don't have any special bonuses. Now, we do get a bonus whenever we're holding a shield as well. So if you pull out your shield, you have 8 AC. While blocking, it will be even higher. But the speed thing is one of the biggest weaknesses of warrior players in the early game, because you get so used to being able to face tank anything that you fight that you will just pick up too much shit, or you'll put all iron armor on too early and you won't be able to move fast enough to avoid enemies that can punch through your armor. It is never good to be in that situation. In addition, being slow makes you a lot more vulnerable to magic, because any kind of spellcaster you run into will just shoot you from across the room while you're like, I gotta run, oh no, oh god, please no, and then you get blown up and die. And that's embarrassing, but also, sets your run back a little bit. Before we get down into the dungeon, let's talk about our attributes in more detail here. As noted, we have 1 in strength and dex, and also 1 in charisma. The strength is our biggest stat overall. It affects our melee damage, as well as how much we can carry before weight becomes a huge problem, so that is nice. Eventually, our strength being so high will offset any carried weight that we might have, at least somewhat, and we won't have to worry about dex, but early on, you gotta kind of keep all this in mind, right? Our constitution starts at 0, but it does scale well. Again, we can come up here and look at this. Con has double up arrows, pretty good. And what that means is our AC will continue to improve. You can see there at the top of the AC stat that our attribute bonus from Constitution will be taken into account. So this will get quite high from this eventually. Our intelligence starts out at -2. That makes us not great at learning spells. It can be overcome a little bit, especially if you play as like a vampire or something that starts with spell casting. Not too bad there. We also start with -1 perception. Now this is a little bit annoying for us because it does make it harder for us to appraise things. But long term, this is not going to be a problem for long. Eventually, this will be only really an issue if you're trying to branch out into ranged combat, which you're not great at. Frankly speaking, I think that it would be better for you to go into spellcasting, because while yes, you do scale int and perception with double down arrows, very low chance of leveling it throughout the game, a lot of spells don't require high intelligence to be useful, right? Like polymorph is always good, or something like levitate is always good. They don't really care about your intelligence. Yes, it affects your mana regen down here, but it doesn't matter that much. Like it's not a huge deal. In addition to all of that, we have our skill list. We start with 40 in leadership. This is why your charisma scaling is kind of important. Depending on what race you play, early on you can possibly get a hold of some good followers, and you can use this 40 leadership to issue commands pretty early on in the game. I would say that this is more relevant depending on what race you're playing. We'll talk about that in a second, honestly. Let's go through the rest of the skills before we get bogged down discussing leadership. Ranged and blocking both start at 25. I believe that in the past you used to start with a bow. You no longer do, but at one point I believe that was the case. 25 blocking is not super high. It's pretty comparable to a lot of other classes, I'm pretty sure. But it is decent, and with your high base AC, it's not awful. It does mean that you're pretty durable. You start with 10 in unarmed. This is only really useful if your spear breaks and you are reduced to the punch, but otherwise is pretty mediocre. Swords and polearms are better. Swords at 25, polearms at 50. I like this quite a bit. I think that swords have the best legendary artifact weapon in the form of Durnwyn. It's not the best in every situation, but it is the best against the bosses because they are all undead and thus vulnerable to smite. But polearms being your highest is also great because Gungnir, the legendary spear, or polearm weapon, I suppose, is also insanely good and is arguably better than Durnwyn in most other situations. In addition, polearms are quite common early on. Skeletons have them a lot, so you don't really have to worry about running out of polearms. Now, talking about races briefly before we head down, I think that there are many good synergies with Warrior. An obvious first pick, straight out the gate, is Goblin. Goblin is good with any kind of melee class at all, and it will allow you to get value out of axes and maces as well. So if you want to go for Shurur, or if not even if you want to go for it, but if you get Shurur or if you get Parashu, you can take advantage of them with Goblin a little bit more easily. That's always cool. And Goblin will ensure that all of your equipment lasts a little bit longer. So that's always neat as well. However, if you want to lean more towards the leadership elements, one thing that you can do is go for either Succubus or Goatmen. Now, Succubus has the advantage of being able to befriend multiple races, right, like Succubi and Incubi, as well as being able to polymorph into a human fairly early on, even with your, piss-poor starting mana. It's only a few levels before you can start making friends with humans, because you only start with 20, and you need 40 to cast polymorph, but that's not too far off. You get 5 per level, after all. In addition to that, Succubi can also befriend humans when they're drunk. So if you just find some alcohol, chuck it at a human, and sneak up on them, you can befriend them without even polymorphing. And you can take advantage of cursed gear. Vampires are an obvious synergy because they are kind of your opposite. They are more of a magic and casting class, which means that they can spam levitate to level these skills up, while you use your melee or even range skills throughout the dungeon to pummel people to death. Goatmen are great as well, because Goatmen are innately the tankiest class, with their ability to drink alcohol and get a bunch of bonuses from it, as well, which includes a damage resistance buff. Though, playing as Goatman, who also has some good leadership options, by the way, playing as Goatman does have the downside, if you want to think of it that way, of kind of doubling down on the melee stats. It makes you very reliant on punching, and makes you extra weak to magic, let's just say. But that's enough waffling about the class. Let's get in and see how they perform down here in the dungeon. Give me that. Alright. The exit's right here, so that will be the end of the episode, guys. Thanks so much for... Just kidding. That is lucky, honestly. I can't believe that. I don't, look at these seeds or anything, so... That's pretty funny. But, the main things that we need to keep in mind are... We don't want to pick up too many torches because we don't want to get weighed down, and because we can't appraise anything right now, we have to be careful of that. Now, this guy is a bit of a problem for us, because he has an axe, so he's going to do some damage no matter what, and we're just going to have to eat that. But we did get a block level off of it. I would not recommend wasting too much time blocking with your shield early on. Block with torches. You have high enough AC that, unless you're fighting an axe enemy, you're going to be fine against basically anything. Now, trolls and stuff, that's a little bit different. I don't know if we can block trolls anytime soon. We'll give it a try if we can. But again, we don't want to get bogged down. We don't want to get weighed down by stuff. There's a human in there. Now, as I noted in the last episode... Okay. We are not going to befriend that human. We are going to fight them. We don't want... Although, actually, you know what? No, that was Barbarian, but this is Warrior. We actually have leadership skill, so we will befriend them. There's nothing in that chest. Did you steal this? What? Steal this from me? I'll remember that. You can see we're already getting slowed down, and we don't even have much stuff on us yet. 2 rats? I thought that might be Algernon. What we're looking for here to break through, because we have no appraise skill and we have negative perception, is, possibly finding ourselves a scroll or a potion. Now we can also do this. I wouldn't recommend doing this in a normal run, because these might be, useful stabs and you might want to hold on to them, but for me, I can do that. And also, if you don't really care about... Oh, this guy's basically dead. Bummer. If you don't really care about any of that, that's also fine. So because we have... I thought I saw something for a second. Because we have such high starting leadership, we can already issue commands to our human followers, which is pretty cool. Let's read this. Okay, blank scroll. Didn't give us an appraise level, fortunately, but it was worth a shot. Grab that lockpick. There's a few things early on that you can appraise with functionally 0 appraisal, but I don't know if it works if we have negative perception, because that really kind of chunks our ability to do stuff. Alright, let's read this. It was blank but cursed, so extra worthless for us. This is very maze-like. Come on, buddy. I just realized that that other guy's not following me. Yeah, okay, you're good now. We don't want to hit that man. That would be bad. Oh, hi, Sebastian. Yeah, I mean, you guys stand there. I'll open this. Nice. There we go. So now we have 0 in appraisal, which means we can start appraising certain things. Or not appraisal, sorry. We have 0 in perception now. So now we can start appraising stuff. I want them here in case this is a mimic. It was not, so we're good. And we can just start ditching stuff whenever we get it. Now this cloak is awesome. Oh. So I'm going to throw it away. Now I'm going to equip it. Get rid of that. I want to eat this. Get some health back. This is worthless to us because we're playing with hunger disabled. But I am going to equip it just to have it. And yeah, now we can move along. Come on. Actually, you know what? Because they took damage, we can sleep them. And then we get a leadership level. That's awesome. They'll catch up with us whenever they're done taking a snooze. Grab a couple more of these. We're not too slow yet. Hold on to all that food, even though it doesn't stack, and that's really annoying. Let's see. We still have this whole upper corner to go through. A man. I hit the wrong button there. Worked out anyway. So we already have a decrepit spear to replace our normal. We don't want that. To replace our current one. It's decrepit, but like if it breaks, then you know. And we'll keep this shield around as well for the moment. We'll not keep that. This might be a decent amulet. It was cursed. This is probably a pretty good ring. I think that ring might be a ring of warning. Could be wrong though. Alright, looks like there was a rat here at some point, and now it is a blood smear. Bummer. But yeah, I mean, this is basically Warrior in a nutshell. It's not super difficult. You just kind of block and punch stuff. It's sort of like the Barbarian playthrough that we did, but with the benefit of being tankier. Although also with the deficit of dealing overall less damage. We don't have a Ring of Might or anything cool like that. With very basic starting equipment. And we want to just kind of use that to our advantage. You know, the beefiness is what we want to use to our advantage. Put that stuff up there. The tomahawk is kind of cool. We already went back there, but we didn't go all the way back. So let's go back here and make sure there's nothing. No. This is the kind of thing that will be a run ender if you're not careful. As Warrior, because you are so slow. Now let's head this way. Also, I should note this, since we are talking a little bit about leadership. If you have multiple followers, you press the block button, press and hold it, and then hit, you know, the C button to give commands. You can select a command, and then, while still holding that block button, you can see it changes by my cursor there, from 1 to all. You can then deliver the command to all of your people, at least everybody who can take commands. Remember, we only can give so many commands because we are so high level on our leadership so early in the game. Let's see, anything else worth looking into around here, or is this basically it? feels like this was a very quick floor 1. I guess we have a few more things here. Let's break through here and then we'll head out, I think. There's like a little bit of fog of war up this way. No funny bones or anything. Alright, let's, we've got a staff of locking. Broke immediately. Force bolt. Oh, we actually could learn it. Nice. So that's pretty useful for us. Believe it or not. That's not. Having any kind of spammable magic is nice for us. Even though we are atrocious at it. Just because, I mean, what else are we going to use our mana for, you know? Hey, hey, hey! Let's do one more. That was really loud for some reason. Remember that if you want to get good XP from blocking, you gotta do the old block, punch maneuver. I'm just trying to get my unarmed skill up a little bit. Pretty sure you can only get 1 block level from each enemy. Notably. So keep that in mind as well. Once you have a block skill, you can kill them as fast or as unfast as you want. Alright, scroll's worthless again. We've got an iron helmet that boosts our AC by 1. Nothing too crazy. Amulet of Olympic Swimming, worth putting on just because we don't have anything else to do with it. And we have a sword. That was weird. I feel like I just got a frame drop there for a second when I pulled out the sword. I'm sure it's fine. Either way, that's pretty much it. I mean, this has been a pretty uneventful floor 1. Yeah, nothing here. I guess there was that area with the boulder that we looked at but didn't go down, but like... I don't know, whatever, I guess. This is what you can expect from Warrior gameplay. It's very solid. It's not super exciting. It's the core gameplay loop of all melee classes is exemplified in the Warrior. You block, and you punch, and that is about it. So, thank you guys for watching. In direct defiance of what I said earlier, we got a dexterity level before we got a strength level. That's very cool. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope that this was an informative experience for you. I know that there were a lot of similarities to the Barbarian in this one, so anybody who's like a long-time viewer or somebody who watches my Barbarian content often, we are going to be skipping ahead a little bit in the class list for the next one. It was requested that I do Sexton next, and Sexton is different from melee classes. Although they do a little bit of meleeing themselves, they are predominantly kind of a magic ranged class. So we will be doing that one next. That'll kind of break up the monotony a little bit of doing similar classes back to back. Not that Warrior and Barbarian are identical or anything. There's pros and cons to each. Barbarian is a lot easier to kill because of the low AC and wanting to be largely nude most of the time for the speed, whereas Warrior is much more tanky and can just kind of walk at enemies, pull out their shield and go, fuck you, I live, which is cool as well. But in terms of the gameplay loop, there's a lot of similarities, so we are going to be mixing it up. After I do Sexton, I'll probably do... well, I'll figure it out. If you have a specific class that you want to see done next, let me know in the comments, and I'll consider it. If there's a whole bunch of people wanting to do multiple different ones, I'll just pick whatever I'm feeling at the time, and we'll go from there. But I will prioritize comments over doing it in order. So, that all being said, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, so that maybe someday it can pay my bills and buy me food. But, till next time, have a good one, and peace.